Hello, my fellow Stoics, and welcome back to the powerful Stoic routines. Have you ever bravely walked away from a relationship or situation only to find that your absence shook the foundations of the other person's world? It's a powerful and confusing experience, like walking out of a play and watching the remaining characters struggle without their lead actor. When you make that important decision to prioritize your own peace and growth, it often triggers a profound realization in those you leave behind. Suddenly, the person who ignored your values becomes haunted by your absence, struggling with the weight of what they've lost. This complete reversal highlights a raw truth about human relationships. Sometimes our silence speaks louder than our presence. Is this dynamic a harsh dance of human emotion where stepping away not only changes the choreography, but also the entire intensity of the performance? Why does our absence resonate more deeply than our continued presence in today's episode? We'll explore the psychological changes that occur when you walk away from someone's life, how you force them to confront what you really mean to them, and why that often awakens a dormant recognition and appreciation in my words. Echoing through our theme today, sometimes even living, is the act of courage. Walking away is not just a physical act, but a courageous declaration of self-esteem and affirmation of your inherent worth. It reshapes the emotional landscape of both parties, awakening previously unacknowledged respect and desire. Join me as I delve into how letting go can change not only how others see you, but how you see yourself, strengthening your independence and drawing others to your newfound power. Let's explore these insights and discover the fascinating transformational power of self-choice. First, let's explore and feel the impact of our choices, reverberating in our lives. I have a challenge that will set the tone for what's to come. If you're ready to step into your power and let your silence resonate louder than any words, comment below with the phrase, "Your absence speaks louder." This is more than just a statement. It's a declaration of your strength, determination, and commitment to be memorable. It's time to show the world and yourself that you're not just stepping back, but stepping forward in a way that will make your absence more felt than ever. Let's see how many of you are ready to embrace this powerful shift and make your presence undeniable, even if you're not there before we dive in. Let's consider a common scenario. Many of us face it, but often struggle to navigate it. Imagine you've been in a relationship or friendship where your efforts seem one-sided. You're always the one making plans, reaching out, and trying to maintain the relationship. Despite your best efforts, the appreciation and effort are not reciprocated. It feels like a solo dance in a duet. Now you reach a point where you decide enough is enough, it's time to leave. You take that bold step. Distance yourself. Focus on your own growth, joy, and peace. But this is where things get interesting after you leave, after you break the pattern. The dynamic begins to shift. The person who took your presence for granted begins to realize the void your absence has created. They begin to reflect on what they have lost, now asking themselves, why did this shift happen? Why does leaving change the way people perceive and value us? This sudden shift may be related to a basic human psychological principle called loss aversion. Essentially, we are programmed to fear loss more than we value gain. As soon as you remove yourself from the equation, you not only take away your presence, you trigger their fear of loss, which, oddly enough, often outweighs the joy your presence has brought. This shift is not just about them realizing your value. It is about you rediscovering and reaffirming your own value. By choosing your happiness and walking away, you send a powerful message to yourself and others. You are not dependent on anyone else's approval or presence for your happiness and self-esteem. You define and hold the key to your own worth. Now, open your heart a little. I want you to think about a time when you had to make a similar decision. What was that situation like? How did you feel before you decided to leave, and what changed afterwards? Then share your story in the comments below. Joining in these personal experiences, not only does it help us reflect, but it also strengthens our community here as we learn from each other's journeys. This reflection is important because it highlights a fundamental principle of Stoicism, the importance of focusing on what we can control. Marcus Aurelius taught us to be independent of what doesn't make a difference. When you walk away, you are choosing to no longer let outside forces dictate your peace and contentment. As we continue to remember these thoughts, reflect on your own experiences and how you have managed the art of walking away and reclaiming your power. Let's dig deeper into how these actions reshape our lives, our relationships, and our very sense of self-worth and independence. An understanding of the initial shock. So, everyone, let's discuss the first point, understanding the initial shock. It's a deep and dramatic reaction that happens when you decide to leave someone's life. It's not just the absence that it creates, but the reverberations that absence creates in the emotional and psychological landscape of the other person. Imagine one day, you're a regular character in their life story, and then suddenly, not unlike a pivotal scene in a movie, you're suddenly cut away, leaving the audience. And in this case, the person you left behind, stunned by the abrupt change in the plot. The initial shock can be likened to a magician pulling a tablecloth from under an already set table, leaving everything suspended in a moment of disbelief before it all comes crashing down. Why is this shock so powerful? Because humans are creatures of habit. We thrive on consistency and predictability. When someone who is integral to our daily lives suddenly leaves, it disrupts our emotional balance, as Seneca rightly said. Every new beginning comes from the end of another beginning. This Stoic reflection reminds us that endings are not just about loss, but also about transition, a perspective that may not register immediately amid the initial shock, but is crucial to processing change. This stage of shock is important because it is often the first time individuals are forced to confront their dependence on external validation. They are left alone in the mirror, perhaps realizing for the first time how their self-worth is supported by the presence of others. This is where a little humor can lighten the mood. Think of suddenly realizing that you have been singing a duet the whole time when you thought you were singing a solo, as they navigate this chaos. The Stoics offer a valuable lesson in resilience. Marcus Aurelius says that you have control over your mind. Not every external event will recognize this, and you will find strength. This powerful reminder encourages those left behind to take control of their reactions, to find strength in their ability to adapt and respond, rather than in the situation itself. But what exactly happens in this shock? Initially, there may be a wave of emotions, confusion, sadness, anger, and perhaps even relief mixed with guilt. These emotions are normal and expected. Imagine you are a character in a book, and the author suddenly starts writing in a genre. You were not prepared for how confused you would be, were you? It is the initial disorientation in its purest form during this phase. It is important for the individual to avoid making any rash decisions or sudden changes until the emotional dust settles, like finding yourself in a thick fog. The best course of action is to stay put, sit still, breathe, and wait for clarity to return. Now let's talk about strategies. How to manage this shock in a Stoic way. First, by practicing acceptance, which does not mean resignation, but acknowledging the reality of the situation without overlaying it with overblown emotion or despair. Like a tree bending in the wind to avoid breaking, adopting flexibility and resilience in thought and action can lessen the impact of shock, and then the power of reflection. This is a time for deep, sometimes difficult, self-reflection. It's about asking the hard questions. What role did I play in this situation? What can I learn from this? This isn't about blaming, it's about learning and growing from the experience. Imagine you're putting together a puzzle and suddenly find that the pieces you were using don't fit anymore. It's frustrating. Yes, but it's also an opportunity to look for new pieces that might make for a more satisfying picture. Finally, the motivational ending. If you're the one left behind after someone walks away, remember that this isn't the end of your story, but a turning point in your storyline, your worth, not diminished by someone's inability to see it rise like a phoenix from the ashes. Use this shock as fuel to ignite your transformation into a stronger, more independent person. So leave a comment below to share. If you have experienced this shock and how you moved forward, did you find strength? You didn't know you had it? Let's build a community where our shared experiences bring us together and lift us up in the next discussion. We will explore how this initial shock develops into a period of reflection and ultimately leads to a deeper understanding of ourselves. Follow along with me, and let's continue to explore the profound effects of letting go, embracing the wisdom of the Stoics to guide us through now that we have taken the first step in understanding the initial shock of letting go. I hope you are beginning to see the powerful changes it can bring, not only in the lives of those we leave behind, but also on our own path. If you see value in our journey together today, please take a moment to like. It helps more than you know. And it tells me that you appreciate us diving into these complex emotional landscapes. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel here. We tackle these difficult topics regularly, and we do it with the wisdom of Stoicism to guide us. Now I invite you to stay with me as we go deeper. There is so much more to discover about the transformative effects of leaving, and I promise that the insights we will uncover together will be worth your time. This is not just about a single change, but about a series of revelations that can reshape how you view relationships and personal growth. 2 self-reflections triggered by loss. Guys, let's dive into our second point, self-reflection, which is triggered by loss as the initial shock begins to subside. The next natural stage for the person left behind is a self-reflection stage. Deep reflection is often intense. This is where the real work begins, and believe me, it is as if they suddenly become philosophical detectives in the mystery of their own life. Imagine that you have lost a piece of a puzzle. At first you work diligently, you may search frantically for it, but eventually you sit back and begin to ponder why that piece was so important. Could the picture be completed in a new way? This is what self-reflection after a great loss looks like. It is questioning the wisdom and the ways of the missing pieces. During this time, the person may revisit memories, trying to identify moments of joy, conflict, and disconnection, like rewatching a movie where they thought they knew the plot, but now they're looking for hidden meanings in each scene, wondering, am I really happy? What did I compromise on? What can I do differently next time? This self-reflection is important because it helps them gain a better understanding of their own values and needs than when they were just part of a couple. Seneca offers us some advice here. As long as you are alive, continuing to learn to live with self-reflection in the face of loss will make this quote a daily practice. It is about learning from the past to build a better future. This learning is not always pleasant, like realizing that you have been wearing shoes that are too tight. The relief that comes when you understand that you do not have to wear them anymore. Humor helps to reduce the intensity of self-reflection, like looking at old photos of yourself in questionable fashion choices and thinking, what was I thinking when I laughed about past mistakes, can make the lessons they teach us a little easier to swallow. This stage is crucial for emotional growth. It is a process of dusting off the dark corners of their consciousness that may have gone untouched for years as they sift through the emotional dregs. They begin to clear a space for new, healthier relationships. It is like cleaning out your garage. It is a mess, it is overwhelming, but oh, the space you will have when it is done. This clearing allows them to approach future relationships with a clear understanding of what they want and what they can give. And let's not forget the power of writing during this stage. Encouraging those who are reflecting to record their thoughts can be very helpful. It is like giving them a blackboard to scribble on. They can always erase and rewrite as their understanding develops. So I encourage you all to share in the comments below. Have you ever found yourself in a period of deep self-reflection after a loss? What did you learn about yourself? Your shared stories are not only healing, but also inspiring and instructive as we wrap up this discussion of loss-induced self-reflection. Remember that every reflection, every realization, and every reassessment brings you closer to that person. You are meant to be, not just moving on, but moving forward with a clearer vision of your own needs and desires. Next, we will explore how this newfound awareness impacts personal growth and independence. My friends, we are on to number 3. Follow me as we continue to unpack the transformative effects of letting go of the 3 perceptions of value. So friends, let's explore our third perception of value. This is a pivotal moment in the journey of the person you leave behind, where they begin to truly grasp what you have brought. often only seen when you are no longer there to put it on. Imagine you have lost your favorite watch. It is always on your wrist, so much so that you almost forget about it until it suddenly disappears every time you need to check the time. The absence is palpable, and the value of that watch becomes crystal clear. This is similar to what happens in human relationships when a person leaves. Daily interactions that were once taken for granted are missed, and the full weight of their absence is felt. This realization may feel like a delayed reaction at first, perhaps a relief or a challenge. I didn't need that attitude anyway, but as the days turn into weeks, the contributions and qualities of the person who left become clearer. It's like suddenly realizing that every movie you watch is missing a key scene. You loved it, but never really talked about it. You begin to realize the stability, support, or happiness that person contributed to your life. A profound Stoic quote from the epic poem Titus is very appropriate here. He was a wise man who did not grieve for what he did not have, but rejoiced in what he did have. This reflection helped shift the focus from loss to appreciation, encouraging those left behind to recognize and be grateful for the time and experiences shared, rather than just lamenting the loss. This stage of realization prompts a reassessment of what is truly important to those left behind, a time to reflect on the importance of acknowledging and appreciating the people in their lives before they leave. This is where a little humor helps lighten the mood. Think about realizing you ate bland toast your whole life and someone introduced you to jam once they took it away. Every bite of toast is a reminder of what you are missing as they move through this realization. It is important that they use this newfound appreciation as a stepping stone to improve their interactions with others in the future. This is a lesson not only about appreciating what you have when you have it, but also about understanding that the value of people and relationships should not be taken for granted. Let me end this post with a motivational tip. If you have ever been someone who realized this, use it as fuel for personal growth, turning the pain of loss into a catalyst for appreciation and active engagement in your relationships. Appreciate the people around you, express gratitude openly, and never miss an opportunity to show love and respect. I encourage everyone here to share in the comments. Have you had a moment where you realized the value of someone after they were gone? How has that changed your approach to current relationships in our next discussion? We will look at how this realization can lead to greater emotional maturity and empathy, enriching one's life and relationships. Stay with me, friends, as we continue to explore these transformative experiences of emotional maturity together. So friends, let's explore the fourth point of emotional maturity. This is the stage where the person you have left begins. Turn the initial shock and subsequent turmoil into a journey of emotional growth and development. Think of emotional growth like leveling up in a video game. At first, it's unfamiliar terrain and sudden challenges, but as you progress, you gain new skills and insights that help you navigate better. That's what emotional maturity after someone leaves is all about. It is the process of transforming the raw, often chaotic energy of early emotions into something more refined and sustainable. This stage is often marked by a series of revelations. Perhaps the first and most prominent is the realization that they can not only survive without you, but thrive. Like someone who discovers that they used to ride a tandem bike alone and finally decides to switch to cycling alone. It may seem daunting at first, but in the end, a related Stoic quote from Seneca might say it best. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who longs for more, who is poor. This idea helps frame emotional maturity as a process of understanding and accepting what you have instead of lamenting what you have lost. This maturity includes realizing that emotional health does not depend on the presence of others, but on an inner source of resilience and self-sufficiency. So how do you cultivate this emotional maturity? It starts with self-reflection, looking inward to understand your emotional triggers and learning to control them instead of letting them control you. Imagine yourself at the helm of a ship as a storm rages. Emotional maturity is about learning to navigate these waters without capsizing. It involves recognizing when you are simply reacting to the waves, rather than navigating through them. This stage also involves adopting a broader perspective. This means understanding that every relationship, including the one that ends, contributes to personal growth. Every interaction teaches you something valuable, even if it's not immediately apparent, like piecing together a mosaic. Every fragment of the experience contributes to the overall picture of who they are, becoming emotionally mature individuals who begin to look beyond the immediate pain of separation. They begin to appreciate the calm after the storm, finding peace in solitude and learning to fill the silence with self-care and compassion, rather than resentment and longing. So let's end on a motivational note. If you're in the midst of emotional maturity, or you know someone who is, the journey is as important as the destination. The growth you make through navigating your emotions is a powerful testament to your strength and adaptability. Leave a comment below and share your experiences of emotional maturity. How have you turned challenges into opportunities for growth? Your stories are not only inspirational, but they are also beacons for others, helping them navigate their own emotional landscapes. Next, we will explore how this newfound emotional maturity impact relationships and personal growth unfold. Follow along, friends, as we continue to learn, grow, and support each other through these transformative experiences. 5. Growth through adversity. So friends, let's discuss our 5th point, growth through adversity, as we talk about leaving and its impact on the person left behind. It's important to understand how this challenging experience can lead to profound personal growth. Imagine yourself as a small, young tree, sheltered under the canopy of a larger tree. One day that tree is suddenly uprooted. At first it seems catastrophic, as it is exposed to harsh elements that you may feel vulnerable to. But then something unexpected happens with more space to reach the sunlight. You begin to grow in ways you never could. If the bigger tree remains, then that is what adversity brings, an unexpected opportunity to grow. It only appears when the comfort of the old is stripped away. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, was right that fire is the gold of strong men. Adversity. When someone leaves you, consider it a test of fire. It will initially burn, leaving you rough and exposed, but just as gold is purified through fire, so too can your spirit be strengthened and refined through the trials of loss and change. Now think about the last time you faced a failure. Maybe someone leaving you left a void. It is easy to sink into the darkness of abandonment, but growth comes from stepping into the light of self-reliance. Have you discovered a new hobby? Do you find yourself more resilient than you thought? Often in these moments of adversity, we discover the truest parts of ourselves. The journey through adversity is not about denying the pain or challenge. Instead, it is about accepting it as part of your story. Like a comedian turning their personal struggles into a stand-up routine. That makes people laugh. You can also find ways to bring light to your situation. Humor can be a powerful healer of loneliness and can change the way you tell your story, not only to others, but to yourself. But how do we turn adversity into growth? By first recognizing the value in every experience. Every hardship can carry a lesson. Just like every tough workout at the gym builds your muscles, even if it feels like torture at the moment, you may not see immediate improvements, but they are cumulative, and one day you will look in the mirror and see a stronger, more capable and... Let's not forget to reflect after the initial shock and pain has subsided. Take some time to reflect on what this adversity has taught you about yourself. What new skills have you learned? How have your priorities changed? What do you value now? The more you reflect, the more experience becomes insight, and insight becomes wisdom. So in closing, if you are falling behind, know this. Your path now is a path of growth. The road may be bumpy, a little lonely, even scary at times, but it is yours, and it is lined with opportunities to become the best version of yourself. I would love to hear about your experiences of growing through adversity. Leave a comment below and share your story. How did you turn a painful ending into a new beginning? Your story is not yours alone. There are lighthouses for others weathering their storms. Next time, we will explore how overcoming these hardships not only strengthens our independence, but also deepens our relationships with those who are still with us. Follow me, friends, as we continue to learn, grow, and face life's challenges together. 6. Empathy increases. So friends, let's dive into our 6th point. Empathy increases. It's fascinating How can walking away suddenly enhance a person's capacity for empathy, helping them connect with others on a deeper level? Imagine this scenario. You've walked away from someone who may have never truly appreciated the symphony of effort you put into your relationship, and now there's only silence in your absence. They begin to tune in to their own emotions and those of those around them. It's like someone who was playing music very loudly, suddenly turning it off and starting to hear light rain outside. For the first time, it becomes clear that walking away can act as a mirror, reflecting not only what was lost, but also what could be gained in terms of emotional intelligence. When someone experiences the pain of separation, they begin to recognize and understand that pain in others. This shared vulnerability is the foundation for empathy, which is like learning a new language, the language of emotional pain, and suddenly discovering that you can understand and converse with a whole new world. Stoic wisdom, especially from philosopher Marcus Aurelius, has shed light on this transition. What hurts the hive? The bee. The Stoics remind us that we are not isolated creatures but part of a larger human hive. By walking away and beginning this emotional calibration phase, you are inadvertently teaching the person left behind the value of this connection. As you reflect on your own experiences with empathy, consider how understanding the pain of loss has helped you develop compassion. Share your thoughts in the comments below on how walking has improved your ability to empathize with others in the end. Remember that every emotional challenge has the potential to expand your heart's capacity to love and understand others. Walking away is not just about creating distance. It is about building bridges of empathy that can span previously unbridgeable distances. Keep learning, growing, and understanding. The silent language of empathy binds us all together, strengthening our independence. So friends, let's explore our 7th point, strengthening our independence. When someone leaves, the person left behind often discovers a new autonomy, which they may not have realized was possible or necessary before imagining being pushed into the wilderness with only a compass. At first, the thought is scary, right? But as you traverse the terrain, you not only learn to survive but also to thrive independently. This is similar to what happens when you are left behind. Suddenly, you become the sole decision maker in your own life journey, and that can be both scary and exhilarating. As Seneca once said, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. This Stoic wisdom is a beacon for anyone finding their footing in the suddenly lonely world of being left behind. It's about embracing hardship as a catalyst for growth, rather than a barrier to success. When you start doing things yourself, from the mundane like fixing a leaky gutter, to the more complex, like planning for your future, you build resilience and confidence. Every small victory is a step toward realizing that you can not only survive on your own, but you can thrive. Here's a funny way to look at it. You're now the captain of your ship, and while the seas may be uncharted, you're no longer just hanging around on an island. You're preparing for new horizons, sometimes battling the sea monsters of doubt and loneliness. But what adventure is without a little thrill? So I invite you to share in the comments. What is an independence milestone you have achieved what once seemed impossible? Your stories are not only inspiring, they show us that the hardest times can lead to the greatest rewards in the end. Remember that every step you take on your own is not just a step towards independence, but also empowerment. The journey may begin with a departure, but it continues with discoveries that redefine what you are capable of achieving on your own. Follow me as we continue to explore the transformational effects of leaving. And remember, the path to independence is also the path to your true potential. 8 priorities reordered. So guys, let's discuss our 8th point, reordering priorities after the initial shock and subsequent emotional whirlwind. Something transformative begins to happen. The person you left behind begins to look at their life with fresh eyes, to reassess. What really matters is that they used a map. Suddenly, they missed a few roads, and now they need to chart a new course. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that you've been running on autopilot, filling your days with habits and commitments that no longer serve your highest good. It's like deciding that you've been eating cereal every morning, out of habit, when what you really wanted was a stack of pancakes with syrup and all the toppings. It's funny, but it's also a moment of clarity. This stage is about sorting through the clutter of life, as the philosopher Seneca so wisely said. It is not the person who has too little, but the person who craves more, who is poor. This Stoic wisdom emphasizes the importance of focusing on what brings real value to your life, rather than just accumulating more activities, more responsibilities. More stress for the stayer might mean cutting back on social obligations that leave them feeling drained, rather than getting rich, or rethinking career goals that no longer align with their personal values. It's about identifying what's truly important and having the courage to make those things a priority. It's not just about having less, but having more of the things that truly enrich your life. Now, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever had a moment of clarity that made you reprioritize? How has it changed your approach to day-to-day life as we move forward? Remember, reprioritizing your life is not about losing focus. It is about sharpening it by choosing to fill your life with activities and relationships that truly matter. Let's carry this thought with us as we navigate our path, making sure that every step we take is aligned with our deepest values and goals. We keep moving forward. My friends, the best version of yourself is just around the corner. 9 new senses of purpose. So friends, let's explore our 9th point, a new sense of purpose. When the dust settles after the initial shock of being left behind, there will be a transformational journey that leads to a powerful realization, a new purpose. Imagine playing a role that you thought was written for you, but then suddenly find that the script has changed. It's like you've been a supporting character in someone else's story, and suddenly you're thrust into the lead role in your own story, which can be scary at first, but then liberating. This new chapter often begins with a deep, profound self-reflection that can feel like redecorating a house you've lived in for years. You start moving things around, maybe throwing out old stuff, and suddenly there's a fresh space that truly fits who you are. This is what it feels like to find a new purpose in life, to rearrange your life priorities to better suit who you've become rather than who you were in your relationships. I've wisely said that it's not what we have that makes us a great nation, it's how we use them. Likewise, it's not the relationships we maintain, it's how we grow from them. That defines our true character. The end of a dependency can be the beginning of a process of self-discovery, where you find what truly drives and fulfills you. And as you begin to act on this new purpose, it is like planting a garden where there was previously only barren land. Every decision you make and every action you take plants a seed that will sprout into a future shaped by your own desires and ambitions. So I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever found a new purpose after a major change or loss? What was it like? How did it reshape your approach to life for you? Keep telling these stories and experiences. They are not just stories of survival, but also of growth. They remind us that every ending opens up space for new and exciting beginnings, to move forward not only to heal but also to explore new paths filled with passion and purpose, to continue to step boldly into your new roles. Everyone, and let the world see how you shine in your own 10 closings and new beginnings. So guys, let's discuss our 10 closings and new beginnings. This stage is about closing the past and stepping boldly into the future. This is where the person you left behind finally accepts the end of one chapter and begins another, more hopeful one. Imagine you've watched a long-running series and you know it has to end, but you're not ready until suddenly the ending feels perfect. That's the kind of ending we're talking about, finding the episode that ties up all the loose ends, leaving you ready to say goodbye and looking forward to new adventures. As Seneca once said, every new beginning comes from the end of another beginning. This wisdom is especially profound here. The end of your presence in their lives is not just an ending, but a necessary closure that makes way for new growth. Like clearing old weeds from a garden so new flowers can bloom. The person left behind learns to appreciate their own company, discovers new strengths, and maybe even finds new passions that were overshadowed by your presence. Humor now helps us process change. So lighten the mood. Think of closure like finally getting rid of that old broken refrigerator. It's been taking up space in your kitchen. It's sad to see it go. Nostalgia is strong. But look to this new space for a shiny upgrade as we close. Remember that closure isn't just about endings. It's about setting the stage for new beginnings. It's about the person you leave behind standing on the threshold of their new life, inspired by their journey and lessons learned. So leave a comment below. If you have found closure in your own experiences, how have you embraced your new beginnings? Your stories and insights will not only help others feel less alone, but will also inspire them to seek closure and new beginnings. Thank you for joining me throughout this series. Remember, my friends, every ending is the beginning of a new adventure. Keep moving forward, embracing every new chapter with courage and anticipation. Here's to new beginnings and the beautiful surprises they bring. Ready to embrace your own journey of closure and new beginnings? Hit the like button if you are ready to embark on new adventures, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights on navigating life's transitions with Stoic wisdom. Share your endings and new beginnings in the comments below. We become stronger as a community when we share our journeys. Here's how to turn endings into exciting new beginnings.